place to practice is not on the stream. While you'll always be thinking about your casting, and you can certainly work on things while you're fishing, the best place to hone your casting skills is on a lawn, on a pond near your home, but wherever's convenient, especially coming home from work. Take 15 minutes or so and practice. Work on one segment at a time, not try to learn everything all at once. Now, while I'm going to teach you a lot in the next few minutes, remember, concentrate on some of the areas you need to work on. Once you master them, then work on to the others. But let's get started. First of all, not being rude, I'm going to put on sunglasses. Now, if it's a dark day, just any kind of glass. Even though I don't have a fly on here, I have a piece of yarn, yeah, and that'll act like a fly. Give me a little weight, let the leader turn over. Don't ever practice with just a fly line. You need to have a leader because you're going to be using that when you're fishing. So wear your glasses, especially anytime you have a fly going in the air. Okay, now we're going to get started. I always tell everybody I want to make friends with the fly rod. That it shouldn't be an enemy, although some people want to throw them in the water because I had so much trouble. Getting back to what we said before, it's an extension of your arm, and we're about to work on that aspect. First of all, when we start out, we have to get the line moving. How do we do that? Well, we bring our arm back up. Well, I watch a lot of people bring it back up. It's kind of look like a lame duck flying out there. I mean, they get real ginger about that. Now, I've seen this a lot on beginners, and they get it up like this, and they go like that, and you hear that snap. They really got that forward cast. But what we're going to do is what we call a back cast. We all know that. We've all had the basic lessons, back cast. But I prefer to call it acceleration. We want to get it moving. Some of you need to get the line moving. You got to get it accelerated. And some of the keys to a good forward cast start with a good back cast. A good back cast, good acceleration. Get it moving, get some authority. Don't be afraid of that rod. A nice grip on the rod, a good acceleration. I sometimes wonder if is there a point where you have too much acceleration? Don't often see that. Okay, now we start to accelerate, we have another problem. I see this from a lot of people. Boy, they really want to, they're just making the rod go back and forth. And you know these graphite rods are so good. They make so much line speed that if you get the line waving up and down, eventually you'll get it out. The problem with that is we have a fly on the end with the hook. And eventually it never catches up to the line and snap, it either comes off, either catches your friend behind you, your own ear, or you lose it. What do we got to do to stop that? We got to develop a stroke. Hey, yes. You heard it was a cast? No, it's a casting stroke. Yeah. Think of it that way. Stroke, like a tennis stroke, golf stroke. You know, there's a lot of this casting's like golf. And if you've played golf before, some of the same teaching techniques we're going to use here. Okay, so let's start off. Let's start off right now with a short stroke. A short stroke. Why? We want to make a short cast. Right now I have enough line out to probably catch most of the fish that you'll encounter. 25 foot of line. Okay, so what we want to do is bring this stroke up. Okay, now the stroke, if we were in a clock, and we hear a lot about that, and I know you had your basic lesson, you heard the 10 to 2, river runs through it, the guy said it's a 4-beat count and all that. But let's really get reality here. What we want this rod to do is flex. Oh yeah, you remember the action? It's got to flex. Yeah, it's got to flex. We got to hold on to the reel seat here. And you can see what the rod does. You can feel the energy go up your arm into it. Feel that energy in that rod. Feel it. Visualize it. The Zenify casting is coming on here. Now you feel when you stop, when you come to that complete stop at the end of the stroke, the first part of the stroke, right? You feel it. I want you to do that. Hold that rod and feel. You can actually feel the energy flow from your body into the rod, through the tip and into the line. Yes, you can by doing this. You can even grab it up here and feel the butt section move. Feel the rod, feel the cast. When you get the feel of that, all of a sudden you'll understand what the rod will do for you. When you bring that rod forward with your arm, you're going to feel the tip work. And when you shorten that stroke down, you feel the tip working more. As you widen it, you feel the action change. Feel it, feel it, feel it, and feel what it'll do for you. Now, if you don't come to that complete stop, the line's just going to go flying into wide loops like this. To tighten that up, watch what happens when we tighten the rod up and come to the stop. Look how the loops tighten up. And it's going to keep it on the same plane. Same plane. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to have to, of course, cast the line, and then that's when our next part of the cast, which is the power stroke or the forward cast. But before we do that, we have to correct the stroke. Okay, short stroke, short cast. The shorter the stroke, the less wrist rotation. Now we got a problem here. So many of you were spin fishermen. Now let's go back to what we talked about before. Reaching back to get that energy to load the rod up and coming forward. Too wide a loops. That's a problem. So the first thing we want to do is that we want to tighten that loop up. And we do that by not letting that wrist rotate like that. Now look what happens when it rotates. Look how wide it gets. Now I'm going to keep the integrity of our stroke. Now watch here. See, here's my hand. It's going just like a normal casting stroke. And it's a perfect casting. Unfortunately, look at where my rod is going. It's going back and forth. Now watch what happens when we start tightening it up. Boom, boom, tightening up. Look how the line straightens up and it's now back on the plane. Short cast, short stroke. Now you notice I have a rubber band here. If you're having a problem with that, clip that rubber band on. And look at that. Whoa, how about that? If you start going back like that, oh, the rubber band tells you you're making a mistake. Now there's another little tool World with Products has called a wrist lock. It's wonderful. That'll help you too. But a rubber band is a quick way, and plus you can hide it underneath your cuff, even just like this. Now look at this. Now I put my cuff there with the rubber band. Now, it's really hard to do a bad cast. I want you to see this. Look at this. I'm going to try to tilt back and go back too far. Look at that. That's 2 o'clock. I have to tilt my whole body here. So right now, it's hard for me to dip the rod tip back too far. Now I want you to remember this too. Wherever that rod tip goes, the line goes. If it goes over here, the line goes. If you want it to go this direction, you point the tip at it, it goes. So if you bring your rod tip back too far, what's going to happen to the line? It goes back there. Look at that. It goes back there. It gets way too wide, way too wide. So this is where this, using your cuff, rubber band, or wrist lock will help you. Sometimes all you have to do is just do it a little bit, and it'll all come together, and you can lose the rubber band. Now you're going to see people using their wrist. It happens. Let's get rid of the rubber band, and you'll see some pretty good casters out there doing false cast using their wrist. But when they get ready to make their cast, they lock their wrist. They lock it and let that rod flex. Remember, when the rod flexes, it's what we call loading up, just like the spinning lure. Just like that spinning lure, it's pulling on it. You can actually feel it. If you hold the butt section, you can feel that line pull. When that line pulls, that means it's parallel to the ground. It is completely unfolded. And when it's unfolded, that's it. That's your indication to come forward. But you're going to anticipate it. You're going to develop what we call timing. You've already developed it, I'm sure, in your casting. You already know when that line straightens out. You know why? Because when you come forward too soon and the fly doesn't catch up to it, it tangles. And all you have, the tangles. When you start doing it right, the tangles will start going away. Developing that beautiful cast. Now, we all want to cast a little farther. Why? Because the fish are out there a little farther. So we learn this false cast. Now, the false casting you learn in the basics. It's a way of keeping your line under control. It's a way of developing a cast, but it also can get you in trouble. First of all, people try to do it too fast. When they start doing it too fast, the wrist comes out and their line starts going way wide, and the wind resistance hits it, and they can't get it out. Remember, when the line is on that plane and tighter, it'll go into the wind better. So one of the problems that we have with this false casting is we have to understand what it's for. It's for drying a fly out. It's also for keeping you in timing so that you can then make your cast. But what you don't want to do is use it to increase the length of your cast. Now watch my hand here, see? Right here, I add line just when I do the cast. Oh, I'm adding a line, I'm doing a short stroke. Here's a short stroke. Now look how wide, man, the loops are out of control. So I had to have more energy. So I add more energy, and all of a sudden my wrist comes into play, and I'm totally out of control. Well, you can correct all the line. I've got a lot of line out by tightening your wrist and opening your stroke. First of all, instead of a short stroke, we're doing the same stroke, we're doing a longer stroke. What that's doing is increasing the timing, letting the line drift back farther. We're adding more power into the loop. We're still keeping the same basic stroke. The same basic stroke. Where that arm is straight up, the arm straight up, the wrist has the angle, and we're keeping between our 10 and 2 or 1 or whatever we want it to be. We do not want to go back to here. And what do we call back here? When that rod dips back here, it's called old treble 30. And when you're in old treble 30, you have those kind of casts, just like that. So we tighten it up. We keep our stroke. We remember what? Short stroke, short cast. Short stroke, short cast. Long stroke, longer cast. Now that we've corrected some of the problems, we now need to go to that power stroke. And I'll tell you, we have problems with the power stroke. Some people want to take it and throw it. They want to throw the whole rod. They want to take it and then they take the whole rod and they literally throw the rod at it. They want to just take the rod and throw it at it. And they really struggle. You see body language like this. They're out there like they're ballet dancing, trying anything to push that line. Spin fishing ways to get it out there. What is the power stroke? The forward cast.